Hey you guys, so today I wanted to come back and finish our conversation on finances. So this would be part two. If you have a large debt because of maybe you had to send your adult child to rehab or a program, then this would be for you. If you're just looking for financial, a little bit of good financial tips, this could benefit you as well. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Sally Harris, and I help desperate moms of defiant adult children. I help them create a plan and use strategies and techniques to regain their own life after they've been living in kind of a pit of despair over their adult child. It's something that I lived in for 10 years, and so I'm using all of my experience to share with other moms and how to regain their own life. So I will put a link below to my discovery call and would love to chat with any of you moms that are experiencing this, and we could discuss how I could help. All right, so wanted to start on this. So yesterday I talked about Dave Ramsey, the Financial Peace University that he has. One tip I wanted to mention right away is there's actually a budgeting app, and it's free. It's called Every Dollar Budgeting App, and it's something that he created. So it is on mobile and your laptop. It says this means every dollar goes where you go, which makes it super easy to budget from anywhere. So if you're not familiar with the budget that I was referring to, it's a zero-based budget, which means whatever money you start out with, every dollar has a name. So at the end of the column, each paycheck, whatever your take-home pay is goes up on top, and then every dollar has a name down to zero. So we're going to go through those baby steps tonight. Last night we talked about the 4 walls, and so what are your priorities? And so tonight, the baby steps, there are 7 of them. So I'm going to just briefly go over them, give you a few tips on each one, and we can go from there. So number 1 is $1,000 in an emergency fund. So a lot of people do. It's amazing the percentage of people that do not have any savings at all. This day and age, it's like people are just spending, and they're not saving. So the ultimate goal is to have 3 to 6 months of your expenses that much saved in an emergency fund. But to start it out, if you have 0 savings, step number 1 is $1,000 in an emergency fund, okay? So what is an emergency fund? Well, if you're married, you're gonna have to have that conversation with your spouse and literally figure out what constitutes an emergency. What I can tell you is Christmas is not an emergency. So a lot of people will save their money, and then Christmas will come along and they'll be like, oh, I need Christmas money to buy gifts for my kids. Well, you can plan for Christmas. It comes the same time every year. So that's not an emergency. If you are, let's say you had your emergency fund and something happened to your car. Now that's not something that you can plan for, right? So that is something that would be used for a case like that. And they always say, like Murphy's Law, as soon as you start saving, you can pretty much guarantee something's going to go wrong where you're going to have to use some of that money. And then once you use it, you just have to replenish it. So it's kind of a cycle with that. So step 1 is the $1,000. Step 2 is pay off all your debt except the house, utilizing the debt snowball. Now, what the debt snowball is, let's say, for example, you have 3 credit cards and you owe $500, $1,000, and $1,500, okay, respectively. So let's just say that's the case. What you would do is paying off all your debt in your budget, doing your monthly payments, but on the credit cards, you would do only the minimum. So you would pay the minimum amount except for the smallest one. So that's where the snowball effect comes in. So you're paying the minimum except for the smallest one. The smallest one, you put whatever you can throw at it, because we want to get that first one paid off, and then you just go down the line. So step 3 is a fully funded emergency fund, which is 3 to 6 months, like I mentioned. So you take your expenses. Let's say it costs you $5,000 a month to live in your home, your car payment, groceries, gas, all of the things. Just for number's sake, let's just say it's $5,000. So you would need at least $15,000 to have in your emergency fund to have it fully funded. Now, the money that goes into the emergency fund can literally just be in something like a money market. You're not going to make money on this. It's not the purpose of it. Interest rates are obviously extremely low, so don't even plan on making a lot of money on it. But at the same time, you want it to be very liquid. You want to be able to grab it whenever you need it. So you don't want to put it into something where you'd have to like pay some type of fee to get it out. So you don't want to do that. So the purpose of it is where it's accessible, but you don't touch it unless it's an emergency. So going into step 4 is when you start talking about retirement. So step 1, 2, and 3, you've got your fully funded emergency fund, and you've paid off all of your debt except your house. So you've paid off any cars, you've paid off all credit cards, student loans, whatever it is, you've got all your debt paid except your mortgage. So then you go into step 4, which is investing 15% of your household income into either a Roth IRA and or your 401k. So, pre-tax plans through your work. So that's your goal there is 15%. And then step 5 is if you have kids, you would start your college funding. And I remember when I was first introduced to this, my mindset was so backwards in regards to where I would spend my money. I always thought that I should be saving for my kids' college fund before I save for my retirement. Because us moms were always putting our kids first. And it took me a while to get that mentality, but now I completely understand why that's the case. And 100% agree. I'll be honest, I didn't agree at first. I was like, that just seems wrong. But I'll tell you, 2 of my kids have paid cash for their schooling, worked their way through college when they went, and they're just fine. So, it can be done. It can be done. Step 6 is to pay off your house early. So that's obviously down the road when all you have left is your mortgage. Then you pay off your house. And then step 7, he calls it, it's basically build wealth and be able to give. Give to those organizations that, are near and dear to your heart, all of those kinds of things. But you're literally just building wealth then because you've got your mortgage paid off, you've got your putting away money for retirement every month, you've got all your bills paid. Life is pretty freeing at that point. So then you can pick and choose more like what you want to do in life, where you want to work, what you want to do because you don't have as much debt. So again, those are the 7 baby steps, the Dave Ramsey plan. You can check him out on daveramsey.com. Financial Peace University is the name of his program. And again, that app, which is really cool, is called Every Dollar Budgeting App. And I downloaded it on my phone just to check it out. And it's awesome. You literally can put in, and it helps you zero-based budget. So if you're spending something, you can put it in there so it's live, and you can see where you're at. Obviously, ideally is sitting down and doing that before the month begins for the next month. So that's always the plan. So anyway, if you have any other questions, feel free to holler. But otherwise, I think that should give you a good idea of how to handle, if you have those big mounds of debt. And a lot of moms who end up, paying for rehab or programs, a lot of those come out in credit card bills because they're considered medical, but they show up in like Citibank, Capital One, trust us, been there. So you end up having all of these different cards, and each one has, a minimum amount, not, like maybe 10,000 each or something like that. So it is, it can get overwhelming. And so just to be able to go through that cycle and treat those just like you would a credit card, you're going to pay the minimum and just start paying off and just attack that lowest total amount, attack that one first. So anyway, I hope that helps. And again, I'll put a link to my discovery call below, and I'll see you later. Thanks.